of the things that I deal with a lot is First Amendment rights, and we're going to go over some individual protest rights later and flexing sort of your First Amendment rights. But before I was at the ACLU, I did a lot of criminal defense work. And what I've noticed over the years as well is consent is a dangerous thing. I've talked to many, many police officers. Part of my job with the ACLU is going around and actually meeting with individual police chiefs and sheriffs. And I've had many police chiefs and sheriffs and other officers say that people have consented into all kinds of things. So if nothing else, you take away, repeat those words, I do not consent to searches, right? One more time. Yes. Well, one of the things that the ACLU National realized a little while ago was video is also a powerful tool to keep police in check. Because as the video, they ran through a lot of facts really quickly, but a couple of things that we know. Police officers, the vast majority of police officers, particularly in Virginia, look like me, maybe without a beard, maybe trimmed up a little bit, but their behavior is sometimes not the best. And also, as the video pointed out, they can lie to you. Okay, remember that. They can openly lie to you. They don't have to tell you the truth. They don't have to tell you your rights. You can't lie to them, but they can lie to you. So all those scenarios where they say, oh, it'll be better for you if you consent, or, oh, just go along, it's not that big of a deal, don't believe that. But what ACLU National realizes, video has become a powerful tool in keeping local police officers in check as far as how they interact with citizens. And police know this. And so what we've also found in case after case is people being detained or arrested and having their videos that they've possibly been taking of the police interaction, or as a bystander or witness, the videos disappear. The phone breaks, or the phone is confiscated during a search, or as we talk about protests and rallies, and you're out and it's active, you may drop your phone, something may happen. So what the ACLU of National did is come up with a mobile justice app, right? The joke is there's an app for that, right? There's an app for recording the police as well. So main thing is the app is free. It's on both the Play Store and iTunes Store. Make sure if you want to download it, download the Virginia. There's several affiliates with their own. DC has their own, so if you want, but in Virginia, we'll go straight to our office in Virginia. So once you hit record, you can kind of run through the slides. Once you hit record button, this is what it looks like on an Android system. Once you hit the record button, if you hit stop, if your phone dies, if something happens, as soon as that filming stops, it goes up into space to the satellites and comes back down and alerts our paralegal that something happened, right? So no matter what happens to your phone or the incident itself, it's documented. It also alerts us to anything that's going on. And this is particularly helpful when we're dealing with protests and large rallies and demonstrations, but also if you're just out on the street, if you're here on campus and you see something, if you see an interaction that you question, particularly, it's not always, and what we found with people that have been reporting things is it's not always a major violation of constitutional rights. It's also catching police and state officials. Remember, we're not just dealing with police, we're talking about state officials acting inappropriately, right? So the idea is that, if you encounter a police officer that is rude or belittling or, lies openly to you or doesn't give their name or tries to talk you into something and you're recording them, we at the ACLU of Virginia have the capacity to go and speak to that jurisdiction and follow up with them. And a lot of times it is me and other lawyers that go and visit the chief or the sheriff and say, hey, here's video of your officer breaking your own policies, right? And so it's not always, the pinnacle of capturing civil rights violations. It's also those individual policies that police are supposed to abide by, community policing policies, courtesy, not belittling, giving their name when asked so that they're identified. These certain things, we want to be able to make sure that we're not just catching those police officers and those state officials that are violating your civil rights, but also the ones that are not behaving according to their own departments and their own how they're supposed to behave. So you can go through basically anytime you see something. We like to, particularly in this day and age, if you see any sort of heightened police presence, good idea maybe, pull out the app, pull out your phone. It gives you basically delivery confirmation, pretty basic stuff. You go to the next one. One thing, it has an auto start functionality, and this is somewhat handy if you're out at a protest or out at a demonstration or you're out at a big crowd, because I know that a lot of phones, I didn't even know this until I got my new smartphone, if I hit one button, it pulls up the camera automatically. I don't have to go in and tap in my, I'm like, what's my access code? Go to the function, go to the app. You can set it so that it's default to your camera, but don't do that unless you're out at a protest or out at an event, because then, if you're just videotaping your friends at George Mason, we'll get it. We'll get a copy of it. We love those, but try not to, happy birthday to, thank you. All right, yeah, we got it. Our paralegal's like, hey, we got to know. Since we're the ACLU, we're an opt-in organization, very important. So if you want your personal information in there, you have to go in and actually enter it. So you can enter your name, phone number, and email address, so that at any time you take a video, that will accompany your video, but you don't have to. You can go to the next one. Again, great little icon down here where it talks about know your rights. One in particular is filming the police. Since you have an app and you're filming the police, this walks you through your unequivocal right to film the police when you are out in public and they are doing official police duties, right? Remember that. If you are out in public and the police are acting in their official capacity, you have an unequivocal right to film them. So if any police officer tells you to stop filming, that's when you should probably get out your camera, get out your phone, get out your mobile justice app. No, I mean, don't like Ed said, don't antagonize the police, but certainly let us know if at any point any police officer tells you to stop filming in public, because we want to know. Okay, next one. Alerts, again, if you opt in, you can receive alerts from us, and sometimes that's as little as a brief message about a checkpoint that's maybe popped up in your area, and we've had a growing number of police checkpoints just popping up in different counties and that sort of thing. So you can subscribe, but again, always an opt-in option. You can get the next one. Okay, that's it for the Mobile Justice app. We can take some questions. Are we ready for questions? Yeah, 5 minutes. Yeah. 5 minutes for questions. And we had some. We ran through a lot of information about interacting with the police, but.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know by chance, many of my clients, English is their second language. Is there anything available on a smartphone? Most of them do have smartphones that can say in English for them, I do not consent to a search. Because if they don't know how to say that in English and they're, stating that in their own language, the police can then say, well, I didn't understand what you were saying.
That's a great idea, actually. No, I don't know of one. I don't know of an app that would. I know Google Translate will translate for folks, but I don't know that one. Do you know one?
If there's ever any,
hi. I think it's a great question, and while I don't know about an app, I do know that there are a number of organizations that put out little bust cards. So ILRC, for example, has these red cards that you can order, and they're really very small. They're wallet size. You can have them in your wallet, and they say, I am exercising my right to remain silent. I wish to speak with an attorney. Or there are versions of that, and you can find them online. A number of organizations have them, and I think it's a very good alternative, actually. ILRC. Immigrant Legal Resource Center, sorry. And there are a lot of other organizations, too. It doesn't have to be that one. You can just kind of Google red cards, bust cards, wallet cards, know your rights cards. And there's also, you have a right to ask for an interpreter. So when I'm giving Know Your Rights sessions to people who have English as a second language, I often tell them the first thing you should say is, I want an interpreter for Spanish, or I want an interpreter for Arabic, or whatever the language is that you speak. So that's another thing to keep in mind is once that request is made, they have to actually bring someone on the scene who speaks the language.
Serene, can you introduce yourself too? Since you weren't here earlier.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I came in late. My name is Serene Shabaya. I'm a civil rights attorney in Washington, D.C. I do some immigrants' rights, civil rights, criminal justice
Is
stuff.
there a charge for these cards?
I think you have to order them. Actually, different organizations do this differently. Some organizations will just send you a bunch for free, and then some you have to buy, but they're usually very reasonable.
We have, and I think they may have been handed around in both English and Spanish. It's a whole card. It's not just that one phrase, but it's a whole card that includes that information.
Yeah.
That actually is the card that I was talking about, and it's a very good one. And they have several versions that say different things.
Yes, the ACLU does charge for the cards, but we have at least the ones in English and some in Spanish out on the table and passed around.
Community empowerment talks on almost a bi-monthly basis in Reston and Herndon. So many of the community members that come, English is not their first language, so we would like to be able to give them these cards because we have such a large variety of languages.
You can download the paper ones that you fold yourself and print them
Yeah.
out for free.
We have interns, I'm one, so we'll be folding cards
The
before our
cards
next on meeting.
themselves, the glossy cards on thick paper,
Okay.
there's a charge for them. It's modest.
Right,
but-
and the great thing about the red cards that you saw is it's in English and then whatever the other languages that you order it in. You know, we have our Know Your Rights cards that are just in Spanish or just in
Right, but we
Farsi
could
or
order
that
them
sort of thing.
in
But
Farsi or.
that red card is specifically so that they can hand it to a police officer so that they know.
Right.
You know, it's almost like a translation card, which is why those red cards
Right,
are
so
so
at that point, the officer knows, you can't
Yeah.
search this person. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Okay.
Anybody else?
We'll do one more question, then we were told to take a break.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
My question is just whether you've already produced this mobile justice app in Spanish.
No, we don't have it. No, we don't have another.
Do you have a
language.
plan to do it in Spanish?
Yeah, National is looking at other languages, but right now we only
It's
have it
only in English,
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you. Good question. Okay. Let's say, yeah. Sorry, our moderator was saying we should take a quick break. What? Oh, I'm sorry. What? Oh, yeah.
We've already seen, like, Philando Castile and other people who've, turned from a, terrible in like a couple of seconds, a couple of minutes. So as soon as you get pulled over, would you recommend recording the police?
Yes. Oh, so is that your question?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, I do. I've been pulled over, and the first thing I do is turn on my phone and start recording. Particularly, I'm a privileged white guy. I'm not going to have the same interaction with the police officer that other people are. But I know that if you can get your phone out quickly, or make sure the officers know that you're reaching for the phone. If you're anywhere in Virginia, that should not be a problem, right? If you're recording the police and you're in the car and you're being stopped and you're just have your phone out and recording for them, they shouldn't hassle you. Now, we often talk about at the ACLU, there's the theory of constitutional rights and there's the reality. And any defense attorney will tell you the reality on the street is you could potentially escalate the situation. So you have to understand, you have to be cognizant of how that police officer is reacting to you immediately. If you just pull out your phone and they immediately start to escalate, my recommendation is always to my individual clients, well, put that down, calm the situation down as much as possible, and report back to us. Like I said, we want to know what is going on with these individual police officers in individual jurisdictions. They shouldn't have any problem with you in your car recording the interaction as soon as you're pulled over.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no one absolute right answer for every situation because people are human and emotions are kind of hard to control for theoretically or hypothetically. So it's always going to be a judgment call. The important thing is knowing what your rights are, so at least you know what your choices are, and you can exercise the choice as opposed to being pushed into one choice or another. Do you want to?
We're gonna go ahead and take a 10-minute break because we have a panel that we're gonna assemble on the stage, and we're gonna take many more questions then. But I want to give you a 10-minute break